All this happening. And parallelly you have Veena Dharma. So I want to bring another element to the sense of aesthetics here. I don't want, I'm purposely going to the aesthetics because I don't want this to be just a social story. Now, Veena Dharma has these Fridays where she performs. The who's who of the city have to be there to listen to her. I think by the time she could see, she was almost blind, and she would play, and all the great businessmen, the musicians would all go. But when she died, everybody forgot her. Isn't it? This is very, very interesting. I think there was a school which was started in her name, but then that floundered and that also got closed for a few years. So Nagartraman is not there. There is no road in Veena Dharma. There is no road in name of Veena Dharma. There is no road. Now Veena Dharma's music is an important aspect. There are multiple ways you can actually discriminate. One is to say it's useless. Other is to say it's too twisted. Both work. Veena Dharma fell into the latter category. You have a concert form which is being created by the men, which is this idea of this very machismo driven kind of music, which is being structured, and you have a contrast of Veena Dharma, which is considered highly sophisticated, very nuanced, all these words that seem celebratory but actually are not in this context. It's good for like chamber music. When anybody says something is good only for chamber music, it's not a compliment. It means that it cannot have access to a larger group. So in that you're also framing the aesthetic sense which you want to cultivate in the larger group. By default, you're saying this is the aesthetic sense that I'm cultivating for the larger group. This is the aesthetic sense that will not work for the larger group. We are saying that. Veena Dharma's aesthetic sense becomes irrelevant to the larger group. So she still becomes a source. So she's a source to learn. For the men to then perform that to the larger group in big audiences. Now there can't be a better example for what appropriation really means than this. We've all done it. It's the truth. The men did it. They took compositions from her, the rare compositions from her, learned it, and they presented on the biggest stage. There are some old recordings, some 78 RPMs of it. I think now it may be on YouTube. Please go listen to her playing the Veena Begadavarman's exquisite musician. So even the sensibility of what is nuance, what sophistication is applicable to what space, are things we should think about. I'm not saying space does not contribute to it, definitely not. But how much is it space? How much is it different kind of choreography that is being cultivated is something we should definitely inquire. Because then we are almost erasing a certain kind of music being part of main stage. It is like today saying Veena cannot be performed in big large audiences. How is it different from that? People say that today. Veena is good for chamber. People say it today. How is this different from that? It's very similar. So there is also a discrimination of this kind of an aesthetic which is happening. Not just the women, but the sound of the women, the voice of the women, the tone of these women is also being erased. Now I'll come to the four most important women I would like to talk about. How much time do I have? Oh, it's 12 minutes. Sorry. And I'd like to talk about these four women and then go. T. Brinda, P.K. Pattammal, M.S. Subbalakshmi and M.S. Ruthumana. I will talk about them in actually their age order, just to get some kind of chronology. Brinda is the oldest, M.S. Amma is the second, third is Pattammal, the youngest of the four is Vasant Kumar. Now, Brinda comes from this very holy musical Devadasi community. She has direct lineage connections with Muthuswami Dikshita and with Shava Shastri. And through learning Tyagaraja Kirtanas from Nayana Pillai, a connection to Tyagaraja Parampara also. So she comes with this, and of course she is the granddaughter of Veena Dharma. Her mother is Kamakshi. So she has all this. Now, I never met her, and a lot of this comes from also what people have told me about her and an insight you get from listening to her music. Now, clearly a person with her own mind. One thing, big mistake we make when discussing Brinda is we think Brinda parroted whatever she learned. I want to say no. In fact, she designed our notion of what that school music is in her voice. If you listen to Veera Dharma's recordings, though it is taken at a very late age of her life, and compare it with Brindama's music, you see a distinct difference. That here is a woman who actually created a certain aesthetic sound from her own use of mind and feeling. And not that she just followed, because our tendency is to imagine that that school basically would not change anything, they would keep it exactly like how. It's not necessarily true. It is in fact not true. And therefore she is a person who applied great, of course she was very proud about that. She was very proud about that, and she without doubt believed that was the best music. She without doubt believed that their music was the best music, everything else was secondary. That conviction and that belief. And therefore she presented it with absolutely no excuses. No excuses. And she made, of course, she had a caustic tongue, she made comments about every other kind of music that was going around town. And, so she is a person who actually enabled changes in it. So musically, if I was going to sing for you, one very characteristic thing about her is that those little phrases that she would sing. I won't tell you that anything I today is trying to sing something that these four incredible musicians sang is just my voice, me singing with all the problems that my music has. Don't even think it is quarter of what Brinda sang or Ashwini Kumari sang or MS Amma sang or Pattammal for that matter. Now, Yamana this is very difficult to say because every movement is actually very measured. And she will say it with precision. This was a characteristic kind of phrases. Namatalu Dinavo Rama Namatalu Dinavo Rama Namatalu Dinavo Rama This amount of filigree work is probably the best word. Everything is like that little movement here, little movement there. That is Brinda. That is Brinda for me. It is so difficult. It is impossible to sing with the measure she sang. The toughest thing is the measure. You may get the movement, but it's moving sometimes so fast that your voice does not have the time to react to that speed. Another illusion is that she sang slow music. Brinda did not sing slow music. That's completely an oral illusion. You are most welcome to put a metronome, measure the kirtanans of so many times she sang. They are not much faster than most of the people. Sometimes she sang supersonic speed also. You've forgotten all that. We associate Brinda Padam slow. These are interesting associations, no? Why do we say Brinda Padam slow? Everybody could not listen to it. Where is all this coming from? She was not slow. She was not even as slow as M.D. Ramanathan. But we think of her as being slow. But actually she sang all very busy music. Very busy music. Okay. And one other thing is that family, in spite of being very strong about their music, also were open to influences. Now Abdul Karim Khan is supposed to come and sung there. There was an exchange between Dharma and Abdul Karim Khan. So there is also a lot of influences they were allowing to come into their music. For example, the music that Vishwa or Bala sang is so different from the music that Vrindama sang. Mukkama more or less followed Brindama's music. I would say that without doubt. But if you listen to Vishwa sing or Bala sing, you sometimes can't believe they came from the same school. Vishwa would sing vaguely like this. You know, like this. Pankaja Bhavasura Patinuta Charana Kyatara Sankula. This is Vishwa. Vrinda would never sing this. Kyatara Sankula Sankata Harana Shire. This comes from a very strong influence of Hindustani sound, which Vishwas has it, Bala has it immensely, in the same school. But there is this very characteristic sound. Now, what have we lost with the Devadasis to me? Unfortunately, our only recording reference remains with the Dharma family. I wish we had far more. We have some RPMs of Coimbatore Thai, but we don't have as many recordings like this. Is that there is a sound in their music. And if you ask me to exactly verbalize what it is, I am incapable of it. I would in fact say there is an arrogance in this sound which is so celebrated. You know, it's like, this is music, not to listen to it, listen to it. You know, that kind of belief and that kind of, you know, that's such an incredible thing. I don't mean arrogance in the sense of being condescending or something else. I mean in the sense of just being celebratory of what you have. In that context, so I'll rephrase. But if you find that in, and this is not gender specific. Vishwa had the same thing. Bala had the same thing. So the Devadasi community thinking, which you find even in Nadaswaram Bani. If you see the Nadaswaram Bani, you hear the same sound. There is an expanse that you can't explain. It is not a question of standing in note for a long time, by the way. If anybody thinks expanse is about standing in a note for a long time, no. Standing in a note for a long time can be extremely constricting and boring. It is actually in the breath. I don't even know how to explain this. It's in the breath. As a singer, I know when my lungs are open. I know when my lungs are not open. When my lungs are open, the world is in front of me. When the lungs are not open, I can't see. And in their music, you can see the world in one line. There is something so important about that sound that they have, which to a large extent our mainstream kacheri gave up. We gave it up. Because we got modeled in this being the product that needs to be sold, and this is the story it needs to tell. We defined both what story it needs to tell, what story it should not tell. So not only were the Devadasis removed, the whole Nadaswaram story also changed. There were people who never played kirtanas. They had to start playing kirtanas. They had no choice. And in the mainstream world of Carnatic music, till today, Nadaswaram rarely finds a proper place. It's a reality up to today. And not a new reality. It's a continuing reality. So these are important things you have to remember about her. You know, so Brinda's music, I mean, everybody was scared of Brinda. Whether it was Rangasthala or Pattammal or anybody, Brindaka was this scary person. Because she never minced her words. She would say what she thought, and she was so confident about their tradition of music. And I think a lot of it also came from her own belief in what she had contributed as an individual, though she never claimed. I think Vishwa and Bala found a different sound for themselves. So within that one family that we talk about, you have a very distinct sound, which is different from the rest of the three that we talk about. Now, Brinda becomes a source for everybody. MSMA has learned from her, everybody has gone and learned, Shamguri Mama has learned from her, everybody has learned from her. Then you have these two women, Pattammal and MS. I've spoken about both of them quite a bit, but I am still going to go back to it. Their story together is one of the most fascinating stories for me. If there's a film that needs to be made, it's the story of Pattammal and MS together that needs to be made. We've got two women who are stuck in two different social constructions, and both have to negotiate their way to find a place in a space dominated by men. Now, it's a very interesting story. Now, Pattammal comes from a Brahmin house, a very traditional house, where a woman is not allowed to sing on stage because Devadasi is doing it. Okay? MS Amma comes from a Devadasi household, where by the time the anti-Nautch movement has happened, all this has happened, where her association with that community and that family becomes a problem for her to even achieve anything as a musician when she knows it's what she wants to do. Just look at the irony of these two people's positions. Right? Both are stuck. Both have different battles they are fighting, but both are negotiating in space. So you have Pattammal, who comes out and becomes the epitome of classicism. You have MS Amma, who comes out and becomes the epitome of bhakti. Now, this itself should tell you a story. I don't have to say one word more than this. This is simply because of social construction. Okay? I'm not even discussing their music as well. Now, Pattammal is a very fascinating woman, gutsy woman. So, how does she get legitimacy? Now, that's the whole battle, right? Now, she's coming here dominated by Brahmin men. The last generation Ise Vellalas are still there, but within one generation they disappear as violence in Bangladesh, soon they disappear. How does she find space? She does something quite remarkable. She uses two tools. I'm not again saying that she consciously used the tools. We are now trying to intellectualize the methods that she's used. One is the idea of mathematics and science, which men believe they own. The other is the idea of ritual purity, which men also believe they own. Okay? For the first, she says, I will sing Pallavis. I will do all the math that these men are think only they can do. Then she picks up compositions that even men don't know. And whose composition? Muthuswami Dikshita's composition. He is the epitome of Tantric, epitome of Sri Vidya Upasakam. He has everything as ritualistic and sanctified as possible in his compositions. And she is the one who says, I will excavate them and bring them on stage. Now, this gives her a kind of a push that is incredible. She is definitely aided by the society of that time when the Devadasi are being moved out. So, for the men, it is also convenient that a woman from their own community is coming in. We can't not ignore that reality is also happening parallelly, right? But yet she is challenging them. She knew kirtanas that no men knew. Dikshita kirtanas, complicated kirtanas with pristine Samskrita, equal to uttering, shall we say, the shlokas in a homo. And then she brings it on stage and said, listen to this. So she challenges this in a fascinating manner. Okay? Now another interesting thing is her association with the national freedom struggle, which we speak a lot. She was apparently nearly arrested, not arrested, but nearly arrested. But she had already recorded for the national movement against the freedom struggle, Tamil songs, and she became Subramanya Bharati's voice. Right? She becomes Subramanya Bharati's voice. Now, it's not entirely true that MS did not do all that. MS also did all that. But we associate MS with Gandhiji, we associate MS with Nehru, but we don't associate MS's voice with the freedom struggle. It's very interesting. I'm just placing as a reality. You are most welcome to conclude whatever you want from it. It's true. Whereas MS is known in Delhi, within the Carnatic circle, who sang for freedom struggle? Pattammal. Okay. So these are all interesting movements. So you have Pattammal doing this. You have MS coming from the other side of the social structure. She comes to Chennai, comes to Sadashiv's home, lives there, acts in films, and she was already she became this superstar. And then there is a steady dissociation from anything that is remotely connected with Shringar. Anything. And in my study, it is Meera the film that really makes that jump overnight. Meera makes her the idea of the most pristine, pure woman. Now, without getting emotional about M.S. Subbulakshmi for the older people, imagine a woman who is considered from a community that is pushed to a corner as being impure, becoming the epitome of morality and purity. What an interesting transformation. As a very objective thing, what an interesting transformation. And that transformation means she dissociates everything from her past. Everything from her past. In fact, M.S. Amma had very limited connection with her family in Madurai. This is a fact. Very limited connection with her family in Madurai. She had some, but it had its own boundaries, so to speak. So there is a physical movement away from Madurai, there is an emotional movement away from Madurai, there is an aesthetic movement away from Madurai. Her music changes. Her music becomes something that is far more acceptable to the idea of a religious, pious, Brahmin woman. And once the sainthood happens, it takes a jump that is quite phenomenal. Quite phenomenal. Now, so this is all negotiating a very, very kind of crowded, male-dominated Brahmin space. So we have to think of these as incredible negotiations that are happening. Incredible ways of actually subversion. Because the men did not know they were getting subverted. That's the truth. The men did not know they were getting subverted. They thought that they were actually in control of the situation. Whereas these women were saying, I know you are in control, but we'll do things to make sure that you just cannot ignore our existence here. It's sad that they had to do it. It should not be, but this is the reality. It's also a time period we're talking about. So you have Pattammal doing this, you have MS doing this, crossing over. And of course they had a very tough relationship. What else do you expect? These two women coming like this, of course there was a tough relationship. You can't expect that to be very smooth. But there is I wrote a piece about MS a few years ago in Carnatic in which I spoke about this. The sad thing is that within the intramural world of Carnatic music, Pattammal achieved the status of being a serious musician. And has never achieved that status within the Carnatic world. This is the tragedy of Suchitra. She is a Bharatata, yes. But anybody in any field will tell you that acceptance and acknowledgement of greatness within that little world that you belong, when your colleagues say, my goodness, you're special, matters much more than any other honors you may get. And Pattammal got it. MS did not get it. That also says volumes about how caste and gender are so interconnected, and you cannot ignore their interconnectivity. Now, Pattammal's compositions, there's another thing is, if you say Pattammal, you say Dikshita. Saundara Rajam Ashraya Gaja Vrunda Vana Saranga Varadarajam Saundararajam Ashraya. Now, Saundararajam Ashraya is Pattammal's stamp. So you have these associations that she makes. And then, so she always sang a lot of Dikshita Kirtans. In all her concerts, you will find a lot of Dikshita. She became really the storehouse of some incredible Dikshita compositions and of Pallavis.